Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. And today I'm joined by a very close friend to the show. Mr. Rob McGeary is back for a traditional now Christmas episode. Welcome back to the show, mate. How are you doing?
Merry Christmas to you,
Uh,
young
and
Harry,
the
depending when
listeners.
this goes out or not,
Yeah,
and to the
yeah.
listeners.
Friday. So I guess
Mm,
like what will it be? 5 days before. Yeah, we can call that.
that's fine,
We'll,
yeah,
we'll call that
easy,
Merry Christmas to the
easy.
listeners.
Hell yeah.
Christmas in general for you, mate. If you was to summarize what it means to you, what would it mean to you?
Oh God, diving straight in with a deep one. It was a tricky one. Mate, let's dive deep and get raw. So Christmas always for me, big family. I love it. I absolutely love it. Big family thing. Love love the look of everything. Love the lights everywhere. Love how you do kind of notice a change in attitude amongst some people, whether that is on one end of the spectrum, pure anger and stress, or whatever it is, people a little bit happier. Christmas movies, Christmas food, you name it. I love it, right? But at the same time, from the last 5 years, it's also a stark reminder of how bad things can get, which it is for you as well, right? That's just
Mm.
occurred to me. This was the season of your turning point as well, right?
Yeah, man.
So without getting too dark on, within the first minute of this episode, but on the 23rd of December, that's 5 years since I stood on the wall of the Thames, ready to dive in with a weight in my rucksack and end it all, or potentially float to the top and be a little bit embarrassed afterwards. But I don't think that was going to happen. The thing now is I notice when people are struggling more around this time of year now. I don't know if that's just an intuition thing based on how I was. I noticed the same symptoms and noticed the same signs. So I've reached out to people a little bit more around this time of year. I obviously don't try and take people on as a project, and no one should, regardless of how good you got it at Christmas. Um, so it's now a bit more somber, and now the effort for me is to try and recapture what I felt in some of those older Christmases, which is a bit of a mission because I don't know if you can. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think like I remember when I was at my lowest and I spoke to it may have been it was either Paul or my counselor. I'm gonna say it was
Mm,
Paul because it's the kind of thing he would say. I I would when I'd get into my lower moods and the depressional times where my brain would go,
mm,
I'd always look back at like a good memory. I remember, in fact, I think it might have been my counselor. I remember a specific one where I was on a jet ski in Turkey with my mate and I was comparing myself to that feeling then to when I was at my lowest. But when you chase a good feeling, you almost get the opposite, right? When you compare your moods, you've got to deal with you've got to deal with is probably the wrong language towards it, but you have to understand and be almost accepting of where you are at that moment in time to then be able to go and do the things that you know create good feeling to then get back to where you want to be. But in my opinion, bit hippie maybe, but that one specific feeling that you have for a certain thing. So if I was to use my example of being on that jet ski, it was like a highlight of my life at that time. I think that's a one-off feeling. And every time you have a good feeling, it always feels a bit different, if that makes sense.
mm, Definitely. I'm going to completely butcher this. This is something our good friend, I hear it in Tyler's voice because me and Tyler spoke about it a lot. It was either after a quarterly or Paul had said it on a podcast or on a training or something like that. The past, I'm going to butcher this, so don't quote me as these are Paul's exact words or something like that. But the past is, or your memory is a um, a snapshot of the past, filling in the gaps, but with all the emotion attached. And I've completely butchered that, but the important bit there is all the emotion is still attached.
Yeah.
So you can think of a good memory and you can get an emotion. You
Yeah.
can think of a bad memory and you can still feel the emotion, even if all the details are a little bit blurry because your memory's struggling to fill in those gaps or misremembering what actually happened. But the emotion is still there. And the thing is, obviously, it's good to, well, it's not good to, but when you look back at old memories that are good, you can get a positive feeling from it, but you can also create a negative feeling because it's in the past, which means it's not happening right now. Things may have got worse since that moment. You could have a sense of loss or longing, depending who was involved in that time or anything like that. And you may even think, I'm going to struggle to replicate that feeling again. Why bother? Things are shit now. it could send you on a tricky spiral, which is why I never. I always call people out when they're scrolling back through their camera roll of years and years ago. If you've got one specific photo to show me on an event, cool, show me. Find it, show me. And you've got people that keep going, oh, there was this and it. I think that's a bad thing to do, to keep looking back at the past.
Yeah.
Like, I can remember my parents constantly, well, not constantly, but replaying videos of us as kids, the old camcorder footage. And I think it's very, very different now to back then. Obviously, people are looking at snapshots of, I mean, we don't take photos of the shit things and keep them in our camera roll, right? We only
Yeah,
take
right.
snapshots of the good stuff. And whether that is looking at old family footage from when you was a kid, which you probably still got some of the emotion attached, especially around Christmas time, to where you are now, to where I am now. I try and, okay, my 5 years ago, my event coincided with my marriage breaking down and my dog died the most horrific, unnecessary way that could have possibly happened. I've still got thousands of photos of him on my camera roll. I don't sit there anymore and just scroll through them. I used to, and that would put me in a very, very negative state. A strangely happy state as well, because obviously there's good memories there, but it put me in a very negative state, and that could set me off for the whole day, if not the whole week. But if I'm talking to someone about him or something he did, I can easily call up that photo and go, look, there's the proof of him, humping a fox or whatever the other crazy shit that he did. And there's the emotion with it, the positive emotion with it. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you've got
yeah.
to, let's get back to now. Let's get right back to now, because this is the thing within your control. The past is completely out of your control, but you can still feel those emotions. And that's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah, man, for sure. Our good friend Darren actually said on his episode on the 100%
Mm,
podcast that we were talking about moods and how to get out of them. And he said
mm,
everybody has a memory in their brain that they can look back on that they knew that moment made them laugh. And if you think about
mm,
that moment, like you say, the feeling of that laughter is attached. So it brings you
mm,
out of it in some element, even for a split second of showing you and giving you evidence that actually, yeah, I am feeling pretty crappy right now. But if I do put my attention on something that
mm,
has humor, makes me laugh, gets me excited,
mm,
whatever it may be, you can
mm,
quickly change the way that your brain is. But also, what's
mm,
really interesting about what you said there as well is I'm gonna like maybe I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm just gonna say something. Most people, when they get older, think that their life is gonna get worse, right?
mm,
Because of
mm,
lack of exercise, mobility, tiredness, job, whatever it may be. When you put yourself in the category that you and I have both done since our worst moments in life, where we've taken on things that have brought us challenge, we're looking to grow. Like, I don't think my life now could be without that element of some form of challenge or growth. I think I would
mm,
find myself quickly back to where I was if I didn't keep the habits in there, which I think is essentially the point I'm trying to make, is that that thought process of looking back in your camera roll is fine if you've got evidence to show you've grown since wherever you're looking back to.
yeah.
But if you're not, and you're looking back at your camera roll going, oh, like I remember this point, this is when I was my most happy, blah, blah, blah. That would show me if I was your coach or if I was to give you some advice that you've not done anything to stimulate yourself or give you further excitement or further growth in your life since those moments that you were looking back at.
Mm. It's what you do. Happiness comes from what you're doing now, right?
For sure.
Your state of happiness can't just rely on looking back to the past at what you did. It's got to be what you're doing now. You have to have things in place: hobbies, people, events, music, whatever the hell it is. Whatever's in your list of I do this and it makes me happy has to be a present task to get that emotion. Because if your happiness is only in the past, then there's always going to be that sense of longing or loss just bubbling under the surface, and all it takes is a shit day, a shit week, and that could throw you for it could completely throw your life off track, not just for a day, you know.
I have an interesting question. So when I first started to have my therapy and counseling and stuff, my my brain was very much like in like I was very much concentrating on my thoughts. So, and I can't remember the exact phrase that my counselor used, but she basically said it's because you're becoming more self-aware. Let's just use that word, right? And when you become more self-aware, it's almost like well, for me it felt like the flip of a coin. Like one day I was completely unaware of how I thought. The next day I was so aware of how I thought. Was there a moment in your life where you remember that happening to you?
I think, do you know what? Similar, similar. So I've had two therapists in my life. The first one, God bless her, she was lovely, but it wasn't hard hitting enough. We didn't go deep enough with what I needed. The second one, amazing. Called me out on all my bullshit, made me question absolutely everything. The work with Paul, looking into the world of personal development before I invested into Paul, that sort of stuff. It's most people are running on autopilot. We're not aware of our thoughts. We're aware of our emotions, but we don't necessarily know how to fix it or change the thoughts that are leading us to those destructive habits, bad environments, and therefore the negative emotions that come with it. When you start being aware of how your thought process drives your decisions, which leads to the quality of life and the environment you're currently facing, of course it's mind blowing because everyone thinks they've got their shit together until you really take stock and look at the areas where you're unhappy. It doesn't mean just because you're unhappy, it doesn't mean you haven't got your shit together. And it doesn't mean when you get your shit together, you're automatically going to be happy. It's constant challenge, constant growth, constant process. But when you take stock of what am I actually thinking here? What do I think when this happens? What does that lead me to do? What state am I in when I wake up? What state am I going to go to bed? How do I handle this situation when this conversation comes up? Till you actually ask yourself and look, you're completely unaware. You're running on autopilot. And a lot of your decisions are also made by or influenced by other people.
Mm.
The people are in that vicinity at the moment with you, or what you've heard online, videos, in person, how you were brought up. All these things influence your decision making process, which essentially is just what your thoughts are, right? Your thoughts lead to decisions, whether that's conscious or subconscious. So when you finally take a look, which I implore everyone to do, and that's from asking yourself questions, seeking out a mentor, seeking counseling, getting some sort of journaling, or just listening to these type of podcasts and things like that, and asking yourself those type of questions, but actually taking the time to think about it, not just listen and go, how do I think? How do I then? No. It's my favorite quote of all time. I swear I've said this on this particular podcast multiple times with you. My old gym manager taught me this, and it was from his old karate school. And I believe it might be in the book, the Hagakure. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that, which I probably am. Hagakure, I don't know. Hagakure, who knows? Something to do with samurais. I read it for like 20 years, but this quote always stuck with me as well. Introspection begets wisdom. So if you want to know what to do, you've got to look inside yourself. And you can only look inside yourself through true introspection. That means sitting, writing, asking, thinking, and trying to get some external feedback as well,
Yeah,
which
nice.
most people aren't willing to do.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody wants to know what. Well, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think our egotistical side of
Mm,
our brains, we want to
mm,
know what people think of us. Do people love us? Do
yeah.
people like us? But when people have feedback that may challenge ourselves in terms of maybe it's
Mm,
constructive criticism or just criticism in general, very much
yeah.
people can be very much put on the back foot, right?
Mm,
And I would say that's when you know that you're in a good space mentally, is when you can heed somebody's criticism and deal with it in a way that it's almost
mm,
like, thank you for that. And actually,
mm,
I hear you and I'm going to work on it. Obviously, if it's
mm,
bullshit, if it's bullshit and it's like just rude, then maybe not. But on the flip side, if it's criticism coming from a good place, like I think that's when you know you're in a good place when you can listen to that and go, yeah, you
mm,
know what, you're right. You're calling me out on
mm,
my bullshit here, and I'm actually going to do something about it.
mm. All of it is just feedback from an external environment. The feedback is either of worth to you, and you can either brush it off because it's giving you an insight into what other people are thinking and their issues, or you can take it on board and potentially grow and challenge yourself more or whatever. Or again, the feedback is just external noise that is just clouding your judgment, clouding your thoughts, your brain, and that you need to cut that off, obviously.
Weird little thought process I had there was we're outside of other people giving us criticism and feedback. I think our bodies and our brains do automatically as well.
Mm,
Hence the
100%.
hence the alarm clock feeling with anxiety. If you're not eating well, your body's going to give you feedback on that. If you're not sleeping well, your
Mm-hmm.
body's going to give you feedback on that. And I think that's a real, like one of my 20% of 100% is that
Mm,
you have to treat yourself how you would treat your family member or
mm,
friend. And
mm.
if you're not doing that, I think your body's going to give you feedback just as your friend would if you were treating them shit.
Yeah, it's all, and it's the issue is feedback that we're not always necessarily aware of until you become a bit more aware of your thoughts and your emotions and the habits that you're using to react to that feedback. Is the way I put it.
Yeah. One little final point before we make the conversation a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit more
A bit
festive.
more festive.
Yeah, yeah, more festive is so we have those, you and I have those two kind of moments, right? Where the coin flipped
Mm,
and we were not very self-aware on autopilot. And then I guess you could say life seemed easier, maybe. I don't know. And then you had that moment where life seemed harder. You were more introspective, you were more inside your own head. And then obviously it led to like where you were on the 23rd of December 5 years
mm.
ago. Would you change it?
It's one of those. It's an interesting question because it's one of those where you go, you almost have to go. No, I wouldn't change it because it's made me who I am today. But it also hasn't. I've learned a fuck ton from it that I may not have learned had I not got to that particular point. And had I gone through with it, obviously, how many other people that could have hurt in way worse ways than I was ever hurting at that moment in time. You know, Jordan Peterson says suicide's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, right?
Mm.
Everything is fixable, even if it may take decades to fix. Everything is fixable, right? Um, would I change? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know on this one because it was shit. I
Yeah, yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
change. I wouldn't change the life patterns that led to that point because those things were meant to happen. I don't believe in fate, but they were meant to happen because they happened. They didn't happen any other way. I don't believe in a pre-written fate. But would I change the position that I let myself get into, that position of weakness? Yeah, I would. If I could go back, if you could press the time, the time traveling button in the DeLorean, go back, if you could whisper something in your ear at that moment in time, fuck yeah, I would. 100% I would.
Yeah.
Just a waste of my day. That was fucking stealing a dumbbell and standing on the Thames at fucking midnight while everyone else is partying, feeling really fucking depressed and shitty, and not shaking it off for days afterwards as well. It's not simple as I got off the wall and went, okay, everything's fine now. Fucking rough fucking time. Um, and I was a cunt to people as well. It's horrible. Um, so I would. I think I would.
Yeah, it's interesting,
I
isn't it?
don't know if that's a
Thinking,
cop out answer though, because it's so easy. That's the big question, when people have made it and everyone's going, they're talking about their struggles. People go, "Would you change what?" No, of course, because it made me well. I'm not who I want to be yet, so I don't know how much relevance that particular event has yet.
one is
Yeah, that's the answer I'm going with. Yeah, I'm sticking with that one.
yeah, nice. I like that though because Rob, how old are you, mate? If you don't mind me asking.
Fresh at 42, lad. Come on.
Yeah, nice. So 42 and still chasing growth and improvement in yourself.
So glad you said growth.
Girls, still
Yeah,
chasing
well,
girls. No.
no chance, no chance, no chance. No, no, no. But you're right. It never stops. What's next? I've set myself goals for next year that include things I'd never ever considered before that massively, massively excite me. Where's that
Class.
come from? Well, it's from growing and trying to find the next level of challenge. And again, looking at what actually excites me. If I go back to the goals I set for myself in 2024, if I go back to that journal and those worksheets, some of those things don't excite me anymore. If I just reset those goals again and again and again because I haven't hit them yet, just creating a perpetual cycle of never hitting them.
Yeah.
Whereas if something new comes in, this is a little bit more exciting, but it's not shiny object syndrome, well, then I know I've got to go a slightly different path that's unrelated to what I was previously doing because I don't value it any longer or it doesn't excite me anymore or it's just the wrong path for me. How do you know unless you move down this path to see?
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. I think we will. I promise you, listeners, we will shift the conversation to the festive stuff shortly. But one thing that I've noticed as well is that this is interesting. I overutilize my fitness goals for my big goals. I
Mm,
almost like with Goggins was an interesting moment for me because on the face of it and legitimately, like of course it's a fucking hard challenge, but because I'd put my brain in those shit places before, I knew I could handle it deep down. Even when I
mm,
was like the last couple runs, I knew that it was gonna. Well, it did suck. Like I had
mm,
the most horrendous like ab strain slash stitch slash whatever it was slash fatigue, and then I got ill for 10 days afterwards. Like all of those things happened, but
yeah.
I still knew that I could get through that.
Mm,
There are other things with regards to 100%, with regards to the podcast that I've kind of just let simmer like or gradually
mm,
simmer for a little while now that I am avoiding doing because I've been relying on the fitness stuff. So that's my switch up for 25
mm.
is right, let's start taking this shit serious now. You've got the
Yeah, yeah.
foundations, let's go harder. So yeah, that's I think it's interesting, isn't it? How you can just take that time to think and then make plans to move forward from that.
Yeah, massively so. Even from all the areas we set our different goals in, the ones where you're really, really good, there's lessons from there that you can apply to the other areas. Like you
Yeah.
just said, you knew you could handle it because you knew it was going to be shit. You've got the mindset that can keep you pushing through it, regardless of the pain that you're in. That could be applied to any of those other goals that you're going to set for yourself.
And in fact, relatively easier, right? Because you've not got to put yourself through the physical shit. Just maybe some.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just need to get a lock on my office and I need to hire somebody to lock me in it and then unlock me out of it when the work's done. Anyway, festive chat. So last year, Rob and I, we came onto the 100% podcast and we reviewed our top five Christmas movies. And
Mm,
the list was a class list. And I actually did go away and watch the movies that we spoke about last year.
amazing.
This year, though, obviously being PTs and loving fueling our bodies in the right way,
Mm,
a Christmas dinner, mate, has to be, well, in fact, I think it is up there in terms of like my highlights of Christmas, right?
mm.
So I've got the idea that you and I are going to create the ultimate Christmas dinner today. So
Okay.
what we're
Okay.
going to do is we're going to choose four things each, alternate, and this plate is going to have eight things on it that make it the ultimate Christmas dinner. Gravy's already included, so that
Okay.
one's already
Okay.
added. So, mate, what would be the first thing that you stick
Oh
on your
shit.
Christmas dinner?
Happens if we just choose the same four things? Are we
Well,
doubling
there's
up
going
on
to
the
be
portions?
backup options. Yeah, I've got backup options. Or it's double this, double that, double that.
Okay, okay.
Go for it.
Let's go. Well, let's go for the meat, right? Let's go
Yeah.
for the meat first.
Go on then.
I've changed this in recent years. Obviously, my mum's always been the traditional turkey, phenomenal. My standard of Christmas dinner is compared to my mum's, including my own. It's all
Right.
compared to my mum's. She would do turkey. However, I never thought I could switch away from turkey on a Christmas day until I did slow roasted leg of lamb. Holy fucking shit, that became my new Christmas favorite. I go
Wow.
to my mum's, it's still turkey. If I'm doing it myself or for anyone else, it's a slow roasted leg of lamb with a ton of herbs in there, with red wine stock in there, making it thick, a little bit beefy. My God, my mouth's watering now just thinking about it.
I
So if
think
I could choose the meat, I'm doing this a big old leg of lamb.
love that. So that's interesting because I would say that that's probably the most un-Christmassy meat that you could have
I
chose.
used to think that too.
Yeah.
I used to think that too.
So
Mm,
I'm gonna chuck it in there as well. So if I was gonna go out to a restaurant, have a roast dinner anyway, I'd always want to try and get the meat quantity up there. So I'm gonna throw
yeah,
in there's a double meat plate, and we've got turkey,
love it,
proper
love it.
brown or full bird,
Mm.
whatever you want. A leg, whatever, however you fancy your turkey, but it's got to come with like proper, juicy, rich cranberry sauce as well.
Are you going for cranberry? See, this is where I would differ. This is where I would differ. I'm not a big fan of putting fruit on roasts.
Right, fine. No apple sauce with pork neither then.
See, I don't have apple sauce or pork either.
Oh
I don't have
wow.
anything fruity with my meat. It's a bit weird. And maybe it's not weird. I don't know. Maybe you guys are all weird having fruit. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so double meat is fine. Lots of
Yeah.
people do these crappy triple stuff bird shit you can get. So why the fuck
Oh,
not? Let's
nah.
have two meats.
Yeah,
Let's have
fine.
two meats.
I
Come
like
on,
to
man.
stick to the tradition. So, what's
Right.
your next thing, brother?
Well, obviously, it has to be a properly well roasted potato, ever so, ever so not too crunchy on the outside and soft and fluffy in the middle.
Soft and fluffy in the middle.
Cooked, cooked in only cooked in goose fat. If
Yeah.
you do your Christmas roast potatoes in any other oil but goose fat, you're ruining your Christmas and you don't even know it.
Should be blasphemy to use fry light for roast potatoes on Christmas
Right,
Day.
like should be blasphemy to use anything low calorie on Christmas Day. What
Yeah.
every time you think about calories on Christmas, Santa shoots an elf in the back of the head.
That's one messy Santa's grotto, man.
Done. Fucked.
So,
It's a massacre.
right, sweet. So we've got roast lamb, we've got
Mm,
turkey with cranberry sauce. That's like an added bonus. I'm
that's
the
fine.
host. I
It's
get
all
the
good.
cranberry
It's
sauce.
all good. Yeah.
Sauce.
So
Proper roast potatoes.
proper.
And now we're going in with so Marks and Spencer's do this chestnut and onion stuffing. It comes
Oh
in
yeah.
like a tray with like, and it's cubed into eights. I'm telling you, mate, it's the best stuffing you'll ever have on Christmas Day.
Talk to me. Chestnut and onion, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You need to get
Okay.
it.
I'm
It's
up for
like,
that, obviously.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Didn't even occur to me in my thoughts to have put stuffing on there. Didn't even occur to me.
And chestnuts make it festive, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I like that. Chestnut.
That's in there. But I'm telling you, it's rich. It smells unbelievable
Yeah.
when it comes out,
Yeah.
and it just accompanies your
Mm.
turkey like
Mm-hmm.
as it should do on your Christmas
Amazing.
dinner. And I think it's an absolute must to just go with that meat, you know?
Sweet. I think the last two are going to be the same each.
Go on then.
um, obviously, it's not just for Christmas dinner; it's for Christmas and pretty much all year round as well. Um, pigs in blankets,
Yeah,
non-negotiable,
it's on the list.
non-negotiable, non-negotiable. Has to be streaky bacon, and that bacon has to be near enough well done. I
Yeah,
don't want, I don't want, I don't want, I don't want sloppy, visible fat wrapped around my sausages. That shit's getting sent right back to the kitchen. I want to know I'm chewing bacon, not licking raw fat.
nice. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think as well, there's like a difference between, no offense to anybody, by the way, and I know budget has to come into this as well. But when you're buying cocktail sausages with that, like, and the little cocktail stick kind of pigs in blankets, that's not for me, mate. Like, I want a fucking sausage that's proper sausage
Just proper.
size and yeah, doubly wrapped in bacon. Otherwise, it's not Christmas. You could just go and get those things anywhere, right? You could
Yeah.
just walk
Yeah,
in and get
exactly.
them. So, yeah, we're gonna go. If we're gonna go pigs in blankets, we're gonna go ham. My swap for
Boom.
that, then, I did have a backup option here, and it's not
Okay.
necessarily something. This is genuinely something that I would only have on at Christmas, unless I
Mm.
was in a restaurant or something. And it's honey roasted parsnips, mate.
Oh, yeah, legit. I'm into
Because
that.
because I don't think it's very often. A, you would buy parsnips anyway. B, you would cook them in
Mm.
honey, and then C, you're having them roasted on a roast dinner. So I think to make it the rich traditional British Christmas dinner, they are something that actually I'm quite glad have snuck in through the back door because we both chose
That's a good
chose
shout.
pigs in blankets.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. Yeah. I think we're going to end up missing on a couple of things. We've only got one more choice each. Um,
Yeah.
obviously it's Christmas dinner. I can hear people screaming Brussels sprouts, but I'm not going to go there.
Yes,
I
thank
need
fuck for
I
that.
need a I need a big Yorkshire pudding.
Oh, nice.
I need a big Yorkshire pudding using goose fat again and
Yeah.
using a little bit of the tray fat out of the lamb before you slow cook it.
In in some ways, we're creating Christmas dinner blasphemy here also because we've gone lamb
Mm.
with Yorkshire puddings and both of us have
Mm.
given Brussels sprouts the elbow. A shout out to
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts, right? Like they
I mean, let's say some things are a given. They're going to be on the plate anyway, right?
yeah, fine. Yeah, they're the veg. They're like the
They'll find
unimportant
their
veg.
way.
Yeah, there's
They'll
gonna be
find their way there.
carrots. What are we saying about
Exactly.
peas? Like just in general on a Christmas
For
dinner?
Christmas, no,
Yeah,
not
no
for me.
peas.
Not for
Cool.
Christmas. Not for me. Mm.
All right, cool.
Mm.
So I I'd like them, but just yeah, that's just
Okay.
personal. Yeah, but no, it's
You can
not
have
my
a side. You can
choice
order a side.
because
Yeah.
we're going obviously for the calories here, right? And
Okay.
the extra richness. I'm
Mm.
saying fully fledged triple cheese cauliflower cheese.
Okay. Good shout. Well, we've got veg then. We've got tons of veg.
So
Don't need
yeah, loads of
green.
veg.
Have that for
We're in.
dinner. It's fine.
So I'm saying that this Christmas dinner's got roast lamb, turkey with cranberry sauce,
Oh,
chestnut
come on.
stuffing from Marks and Spencer's specifically, roast potatoes cooked in goose fat that is slightly crunchy round the outside, fluffy in the middle. We've got Yorkshire puddings. We've got cauliflower cheese with honey roasted parsnips and an absolute bucket load of pigs in blankets with gravy that was automatically added, made with the meat juices that's come from the pan of whatever you're
Fuck
using.
yes.
And then
100%.
just to get your handful of veg in there as well, we'll give that as an added bonus as well. How are we saying about that? Do you know what, listeners?
Oh, man.
We'd love to know your thoughts on our Christmas dinner. Maybe you're really pissed off that we've added Yorkshires. Maybe you're pissed off that we've left Brussels sprouts out. Who knows? But we're intrigued, mate. I think that is a 9 out of 10 roast. Looking at that, it's
That's the,
making
I'd call that the 100% Christmas dinner.
the
I wouldn't change anything
100%
there.
Christmas
I wouldn't
dinner.
change anything there. I would even, because it's Christmas, I'd even indulge in the cranberry sauce, even though it's not for me.
My
But
guy.
yeah. Mm,
In all seriousness, obviously we want to get some value as well out of the
mm,
conversation, but taking things a little bit more light-hearted today. Very
yeah.
unusual for you and I to do so, mate. When it
Mm,
comes to food around Christmas, obviously we've you and I there have spoke about like going balls deep in the Christmas dinner and the calories, right?
mm,
But the word treat, the word like indulgence, it's a time of year which can quite quickly can unravel any kind of progress that you've made over the last few months and all those kind of things. So just a quick note on how you can best manage indulging
mm.
but not fucking things up.
Mm. Well, first thing I'd want people to recognise in terms of the average amount of weight put on over the Christmas period, it's not as much as you think. Some people think they're putting a stone on over the week in Christmas and crap like that. It's like the average is like 4 pounds,
Mm.
nothing. And even then, that's not necessarily fat, that's weight. And the reason is, yeah, you'll be tucking into the boxes of chocolates and things like that. You'll be having a big caloric Christmas dinner. Yeah, maybe some bits afterwards, things like that. But you're also not going to Starbucks and getting that 800-calorie fucking frappuccino on the way into work with the croissant and the shitty breakfast. And the office feeder's not putting more and more and more calorific stuff in there. And like you do kind of, you might get to the point where you're having, it's a weird phrase, right? But you're having rich
Yeah, yeah.
foods that are just full of sugar and very, very calorific. And they can end up making you feel a bit sick. So I think you do stop when you get to that point when you're sick anyway, or you're about to feel sick anyway.
Yeah.
Don't get sick. That's ridiculous.
After your
Um,
third dessert, innit?
yeah, yeah. I think you do kind of eat differently. If you were to track again, we don't do this. We don't track over Christmas because again, the elves are just going to get shot. The main priority should be what's going to make you feel good. What's the minimum standard you're going to accept for yourself that's going to make you feel good. So maybe that's a handful of drinks. Maybe that is going all out on Christmas Day, not giving a fuck, and then kind of getting back on it. Maybe that is just being a little bit healthier, not thinking too much about it, not tracking, certainly, making sure you're getting protein at every meal, making sure there's veg at every meal, but allowing yourself to eat all the other sweets, chocolate, crisp, etc., that you've probably been bought. But the two biggest things you can do is one, when it's over. Get that stuff out of the house. How many people still keep big boxes, celebrations, crisps, all these different things in the house well into January as well? Not being funny. I'm not saying I'm the ultimate doing good or anything like that, but food banks are crying out for that stuff.
Yeah, that's
Give
so
it to a
true, man.
neighbor, give it to a friend, give it to a charity, give it to a food bank, something like that. You don't need it, especially if you're going to feel guilty for eating it. Okay, there's always a way to get rid of it without just chucking it in the bin. Worst case, just chuck it in the bin. Right? Okay. The second thing to remember is how do you want to feel over that week? Like, is every single Christmas you waking up on January 1st going, oh my God, what have I done with my weight? Why have I eaten all this crap food? And well, then it's time to change that. And it doesn't mean a major lifestyle overhaul during Christmas because it's Christmas. You're going to be going out, you're going to be seeing family, you're going to have all this different stuff at home. What's 1 week in the grand scheme of what you could do in a year? Like if you wake up January the 1st and go, oh my God, I've done it again, then let's commit this time to doing something different from January the 1st to December the 24th, let's say. Because you can't destroy life in a week in terms of food, but you can completely positively overhaul your life in 1 year.
Mm.
And it's not going to take you a year. It might take you 8 months, it might take you 6 months. Some people, if they're truly fully committed, it could be a 12 to 16 weeker and physically everything's changed. But that doesn't mean 12 to 16 weeks give up. You've seen abs and then see you later. It's this is your lifestyle going forward now, which gives you more flexibility over the next Christmas than the next than the next.
Yeah, man. I think that's so important as well. And also like, without going too deep on this, because we obviously want to speak about the music shortly,
Mm.
is that I do think, especially when it comes to the boozy Christmassy period, which is a different subject altogether, and talking about that good feeling of feeling good, let's just say, that people want. Just important to note that those like 5 glasses of wine or 5 beers that you're having with your mates to feel good are going to have a knock-on effect of you in some way, whether you like it or not, right? And then
Mm.
and also I've spoke to a couple of my clients about this over the last couple of weeks. It's just that word treat, like
Yeah.
with every
Yeah.
perceived kind of positive, there will be a negative with equal or greater
Mm.
outcome on the other side of it too. So yeah, I may have fun, but also my sleep's not back right, and all of those kind of
Mm.
things. But yeah, I think it's just important to come in and be relaxed, but also I know you say you can't undo your good work, but you can undo some good habits over this time.
Mm. Massively so. Yeah. And you can create a lot, like we said earlier, you can create a lot of negative emotion, which leads to poor habits again,
Yeah,
which you don't want to do, right?
amazing. Right, the next festive subject of choice today, maybe. Do you
Big
know
one.
what? Knowing you, mate. Knowing you, I'm gonna say that I reckon 2 of my 5 are
Oh, okay.
in your top 5, but you may
Mm.
throw some left fielders in there too. So
So,
I'm intrigued to know. We're Rob and I are going to now break down what we consider to be our top 5 Christmas music classics.
mm.
Rob, what are you coming in with as your number one?
I reckon this is the one. I reckon you've only got one the same as me, and I reckon this is it because this is my top one. I think this is the greatest Christmas song ever written, which is "The Fairy Tale of New York"
Yeah.
by the
Bosh.
Pogues featuring Kirsten McCall. Incredible
Have you
Christmas song for people that don't like Christmas songs.
It's an unbelievable track that I think suits all ages because I remember
Mm,
being a kid in the car with my parents, and when this song came on, it was always
mm,
like, ah, what an amazing song, even
mm,
when I was like
mm.
a young pup kind of thing. Yeah, and did you see the rendition of it that they did, or the cover of it they did when the fella died at his
Um,
funeral? It
at
was
his funeral, it's funny
yeah, yeah,
enough.
yeah.
I've made copious amounts of notes here about each song. Funnily enough, and
What?
I think that is that became one of my favorite feel good videos of all time from that footage alone. I love that song. I love the fact that the Darkness did a little bit of a cover at one of their live shows. I love everything about that song. It's absolutely incredible. And then to see that at his funeral, where you're like, well, apparently he didn't quite like the song towards the end, towards the end of his life because it's overplayed and people think he only did one song. But to see at his funeral, friends, family, the band he used to play with. I don't think Public was in there, but to see that church packed out, playing this beautiful song, a beautiful version of it, and people dancing in the aisles at his funeral.
Yeah,
That's
mad.
a funeral that most of us can only dream of, and
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen. Beautiful video, beautiful moment, beautiful fucking song.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it is like I said a minute ago. I think it's one of those songs that when it comes on, there's not. It's
Mm.
one of those ones that doesn't split the room. Well,
Yeah.
might split some
Mm.
rooms, but they're the rooms that I don't want
Mm.
to be in.
Yeah, exactly. They're full of miserable people, so
Yeah, that's
we don't
right.
go in those rooms.
Right, okay. So I'm gonna come in now, and I may get judged for this one, but I'm going in with it anyway. My number two, because obviously we've both gone for number one, and obviously we're going to speak about your number two. It's a bit more of a chilled out one, bit more relaxed, but and I think it links to Gavin and Stacey as well, which is the Christmas specials are up there with my like kind of favorite Christmas watching.
Uh,
Driving home for Christmas, Chris Rea. Is it Rea?
Chris Rea,
Yeah,
Chris Rea.
Chris Rea.
Okay,
That's
interesting,
one of my
interesting.
yeah,
Mm,
like it. Just
okay.
feel like it's very vibey. I think when it in my head, it's although don't live very far away from my parents whatsoever. It's now I live outside of, I've got my own place. It's about going
Mm,
home and spending Christmas with them individually and having that
mm,
time and being with family and just reminding that song reminds me of why I like Christmas.
mm. It's an interesting one. It wouldn't make my top five. Probably wouldn't make my top 10. But I'm not saying it's a bad song at all. But it's a childhood, it's a core childhood memory for me, that song, because my old man loved that song. And when you really listen to the lyrics, it's genius because that is one of the most realist Christmas experiences that he could have potentially described for most working men around Christmas time. It's genius. It's absolutely a well written. It's a well written song, let alone a well written Christmas song.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, that's my number two. What's yours, mate?
Number two, I've gone. This is where you said I go left field. I've gone left field. It's more of a carol than a Christmas song. It's "Oh Holy Night," which most people would have heard, and the reason it sticks with me every single Christmas is because of Home Alone, because it's in the middle of Home Alone, and it's as the kids are as he goes into the church, and Old Man Marley sat there, and the kids are singing it. It always kind of stuck with me. It was like a I quite like that song that's going on in the background. And then over the years, I've heard different versions of that. I've heard giant orchestras and choirs doing the most epic renditions of this. There's metal bands that have covered it. It's been used in hip hop samples. And I think it's one of the most rousing, not just Christmas songs, one of the most rousing compositions ever. When the chorus kicks in with Fall on Your Knees, I think it's not tugging at your heartstrings or empowering you a little bit. You might be dead inside and probably the type of person that disagrees with our choice of Christmas dinner.
One, yeah, that kind of person. You shouldn't be listening to this podcast anyway. No. But no, I thinking about that part of the film,
Mm.
which obviously was both. I'm pretty sure both of us whacked it in our top five last year as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kind
Should
of
have done.
like bit of a correlation, bit of a
Mm.
flashback. But yeah, when you think about that part of the film and the fact that he realizes that that geezer's actually not a bad guy in general,
Mm.
again, another kind of in
Mm.
between the lines Christmas message of,
Mm.
doing good for the community. He was there in the background watching his granddaughter singing
Mm.
and he wasn't supposed to be there and all those kind of things. So yeah, real nice moment and a really good song. Okay, number three is a new one ish, a new one
Okay.
ish. It's been in the charts. I don't know, maybe not more than 5 years, and it was
Okay.
a correlation of the Gingers when Elton John and Ed Sheeran got together and they sang "Merry Christmas."
Okay. Is this the popular, already popular Merry Christmas, or is this a brand new
It's
song
a
they
it's a
composed?
yeah. It's a new take on
A new
no, sorry, it's
take
a new
on
song. It's a new song, but
brand new
written
song.
by those two. Very, very good.
Okay.
Very,
I
very good.
honestly don't think I've heard
I'm gonna
this.
send you it, and then
Which
you can
which
give me.
shows I don't listen. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
listen to much popular music
It's
in the last 5 years.
it's a new like mostly when like a new song comes out in the charts when it comes to
Mm.
Christmas, it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's another real shit song wrote
Yeah,
by
yeah,
a
yeah,
shit artist. But
yeah.
I guess respect to these two because
Mm.
I would never outrightly go out of my way to buy an Ed Sheeran ticket,
Mm.
nor would I go out of my way and buy a Elton John ticket. But I do think both of those fellas are insanely talented. They both
Mm.
have like I think when you're a good artist because you sound good live and you don't need anything to
Mm.
help you, right? So
Mm.
this song is written by two clever people who have nailed, in my opinion, a great Christmas song. And I'm going to send it to you
Mm.
to listen to. That's your homework from this
Amazing. I
episode.
will have a listen. I will have a listen. And it's funny you said Ed Sheeran will be relevant for my fifth song. So it's
Oh,
funny that you said Ed Sheeran, okay? Which again is not someone I would ever listen to or go see live. And then there's not me saying I've nothing against people that do. I've not. But it's just not for me, right? It's not for you either, apart from the Christmas one. Um, So it's funny that you chose a new modern one as well, because I don't I as soon as I hear, yeah, there's a new Christmas song, I cringe, because it's
Roll your
either
eyes.
some stupid reality TV or fucking TikTok star, or what I only heard the other day, a Robbie Williams Christmas song, which could be not just the worst Christmas song I've ever heard, but potentially the worst song I've ever heard.
What?
But
Recent
don't
or
go listen to that. I
okay?
assume it's recent because again I've never heard it, but I don't listen to Robbie Williams to know if it's new or
Yeah,
old
okay.
anyway. But it was horrendous. I actually threw up in my mouth a little bit. So I'm going old school. I'm going really old. I'm going to go with White Christmas, but the Frank Sinatra version. Because White Christmas, I'm dreaming of a White Christmas. Yeah, you've heard it poppy, you've heard it jolly and jaunty and whatever else. The Frank Sinatra version, I think, is one of the smoothest jazz compositions by an amazing songwriter, Irving Berlin, who's written thousands of compositions over his life from the 20s onwards. For me, it's beautiful and it's Christmas personified.
Yeah, nice. The links does link nicely into the.
Oh
I
yeah,
actually
oh
don't
yeah.
know who sings this one,
Okay.
but "Walking in a Winter Wonderland," the original, because like, do you know what? I've got my other screen, and I'm gonna do what Joe Rogan
Judy
does.
Garland? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do a Jamie. I want to say Judy Garland. I could be wrong.
Okay, so
I could
straight
be very
away,
wrong.
well, we've got Bing Crosby,
Okay, I'm hearing it in a woman's voice.
but that's not okay. Let's Google Jamie. Let's Google the original Winter Wonderland.
Bring that up, Jamie.
I love it when people. Oh, okay. 1934, song written by
Christ.
Felix Bernard, and the original recording by Richard Himber. But
Okay.
it's been covered by over 200 different artists.
Jesus.
Jeez.
Oh,
So, but do you know
wow.
why that correlates with your choice of White Christmas?
Okay.
Is
Go on.
because it's that childhood dream of the snow, the ice skating, the
Mm-hmm.
snowmen, all the decorations, the lights, the feel good feeling. I think both of those songs kind of sing around the same kind of
Massively
things.
so.
There you
Massively
go.
so. It paints a picture, right? Which creates an emotion. It's an emotion linked to our childhood Christmas season.
And then your number four or five?
Or,
Four.
again, we're going, this is four for me. Yeah, we're going old school again. Silent Night, but the Elvis version.
Oh, wow.
So Silent Night again, we've heard it jolly, we've heard it choirs, somber. The Elvis version is one of the most minimalist Christmas songs ever. It's Elvis's voice, it's one piano, and then it's very soft backing accompaniment by the name of his band that I forget, just vocally. Just piano, just voice, Elvis, and then these little background bits. And I implore anyone to get a decent set of speakers or headphones and really listen in to what's happening in the background because it's fucking beautiful.
I'm gonna
Sounds
do
like a
this.
100-piece orchestra and it's 4 or 5 guys. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
There we go. I can see what I like about this. Is I've sent you away with a task today for
Mm.
the episode with the food and with the music, and you've gone and put some real thought into it, and I like
Hell
it.
yeah, man.
Def,
Hell yeah. This is what I
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. Love it. Okay, final one for me. I've had to chuck it in there, man, and it's Wham! Last
Okay.
Christmas
Staple.
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 Um, again, apologies that it snuck in at five, but it just does the job as an absolute Christmas classic for me. I don't think it would be considered to be Christmas at all if I didn't hear that. And I think the lyrics are fucking hilarious. So, but also great at the same time
Mm.
because I'm sure there are some people who that song resonates incredibly well with. So there we go.
Mm. A lot of breakups around Christmas, right?
For sure.
A
Nobody
lot.
wants to spend the money on the presents, do they?
No.
And your final one,
So we're
mate?
going. My final one, because again, this is not me saying these are the 5 greatest songs ever written. These are
No,
my
no.
5 favorite
Yeah.
Christmas songs, right? So if you don't agree with me on number 5, you can just do one. I don't care. One of my favorite bands is The Darkness, and Darkness wrote a very popular, very enjoyable Christmas song It just sums me up as well. It's raucous, it's funny, it sums up what I like about the Darkness. It's raucous, it's funny, it's tongue in cheek. There's innuendo in there as well. It's a great glam rock song. And for me, Christmas is also kind of marked by it. I've never missed the Darkness on tour when they're playing in December because they always go all out during the song. And
Nice.
the last time I saw them last December, they got a choir on. They had the usual confetti come down all in costume. It was amazing. And weirdly enough, this is why I say Ed Sheeran, he came in the middle of the lineup as a mystery support guest. Like, wasn't even written down. No one knew Ed Sheeran was going to be playing. And after the initial support act, Ed Sheeran comes out, plays for 30 minutes. Not my cup of tea, but I can see why people like him. And then he fucks off. The Darkness comes on. He comes out and plays a couple of songs with them, which I'm intensely jealous about. I thought it was funny. That's a big Christmas memory now for me, is Ed Sheeran coming out and playing with the Darkness. But the Darkness, Christmas time, Don't Let the Bells End.
Yeah, it's a great,
Yeah,
great,
all day,
great,
all
great,
day.
great song. Yeah, sure. My mum used to have their first album, and on CD in the car, great fun, really good. And
Hell
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
hell yeah.
she went to watch them. And
Mm.
what's the guy's name? The lead singer?
Justin Hawkins.
That's it. Came down on a flashing tit, like a
Oh
boat.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Back in the
Very.
day.
Like, would he get away with that now? I hope so, but there we go. Yeah, hopefully he'd get away with that now.
that's what cocaine does to you. That's what a
Yeah.
cocaine habit creates, and a bit of popularity.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Mm.
Don't do drugs, kids. Mate, I think we have
Mm,
absolutely nailed that. And I'm
I
gonna
agree.
go away. You're gonna go away with homework and listen to Elton John and Ed Sheeran. And I'm gonna go away
Right.
and listen to the Elvis version of what one is it again?
Silent Night.
Silent Night.
Silent Night.
And the Frank Sinatra version
Oh
of
yeah.
White Christmas.
White Christmas.
Love it, man. Rob, very much a I think we've ticked both boxes today. We've been festive and we've thrown some seriousness in here too. So if
Mm.
people like the seriousness and the tongue-in-cheek stuff we've spoken about today, where can they come and find out more about you?
So they should now just find me on my personal Instagram profile because, as we've said many times, my business one broke after a viral reel that completely destroyed the account. So you don't want to do drugs, kids, and you don't want to go viral. So now come find me on Instagram at Rob with two B's McGeary. No, it'd be Rob Core actually, Rob two B's Core. And I'm doing all my stuff on there now.
Love that. And if you have enjoyed today's episode, please go over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and drop us a 5-star review. It goes a long, long way to helping the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, thanks for sticking with us for this Christmas special today. Like, subscribe below. Goes a long, long way to helping the show. And if you are listening for the serious stuff, you want to become more energized, you want to stop procrastinating, and you want to actually take on 2025 in the best way possible, my 100% journal can help you. And you can get it for free for 14 days with the click in the description. I'll see you here for a new episode every Friday. Take care.